Muses of Mythology is a spoiler-heavy podcast.
That's an understatement.
We're going to discuss not just the events of this book, but the Rhineverse as a whole, and really anything that we feel is relevant. You can find full spoiler warnings in the show notes.
This is a weird pull. It's like Alec Baldwin in fucking Cat in the Hat, where he like gets to his like shitty ass apartment, like rips off the corset, and his guts just hanging out like 4 extra inches. Ugh.
I feel like I have to instigate a no Cat in the Hat rules. Welcome to Muses of Mythology, a podcast where we explore how ancient myths become modern pop culture. This week, we continue our journey through Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson and the Olympians with story 44, Satyrs. I'm your co-host and podcasting muse, Darien Smartt. Joining me is my co-host and brother, DJ.
How's everybody doing today? I am the muse of guides, brochures, and self-guided tours.
Awesome. DJ, can you give me a tour through this museum?
Absolutely.
All right, DJ, I need to make a clarification right from the start.
Yeah, go ahead.
You may recall in the previous episode how I stated that this episode will be about satyrs and nature spirits.
Yeah, that was the plan. Well,
I proceeded to do about 90 seconds of research on satyrs before learning, this episode might be a little bit bigger than I initially realized. More so, too big to combine with another bigger slice of mythology.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, let's start what we always do. DJ, what do you remember about satyrs from the Percy Jackson books?
I remember that Grover's a satyr.
Yes.
And they're generally used for, like, you know, just going out into the world and searching, whether that be for demigods or Pan. In this book, it's mainly for Pan. Honestly, it's not much for demigods, at least to us, because we're not looking, right? They're not actively looking for demigods, at the very least on screen.
Yeah, it's the thing we're told happens, but besides Grover, we don't really get that kind of... It's also weird because, like, if every single demigod, we can assume, is brought to Camp Half-Blood by a satyr, Grover is the only one we know by name who is actively going to... The ones that we are going to schools. Because we meet the Cloven Elders in Battle of the Labyrinth, so we know their names. And then later on, we meet Coach Hedge, who is a searcher, so we do meet him, but... There's a pretty good amount of kids at Camp Half-Blood.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids. And yeah, we don't really see any other satyrs, it is very strange now that you bring that up. It is strange that we don't see like any other satyrs at the very least, just like in passing. Like it's the start of summer. You'd think that at the very least bring a kid around, right? We'd be like, oh, here's a satyr and here's a new kid.
Yeah.
Right? So
we at the end of the series, spoilers smashing ahead, they mention, satyrs are bringing in more and more demigods. So we know this is a thing, right?
Yeah.
But we never know them by name. I think another thing, and I'm realizing just now, right now, is Percy the only demigod who's friends with the satyr that found him?
Definitely seems that way, right?
Yeah, it definitely seems like, because Grover also found Annabeth.
Yeah.
I mean, he found Talia, but he found Annabeth too.
He found Annabeth and Luke at the same
Luke,
time
yeah.
because Talia and Luke joined together and then they found Annabeth as she was wandering the streets of New York.
Yeah. Was it New York? I don't think it was New York.
Oh, no, you're right. It was. I don't know where it was, but
we actually find out. There's a short story.
Is there?
We'll go back. We'll circle back. Annabeth's not friends with Grover before Percy shows up.
Huh. Weird. I mean, to be fair, Grover was also kind of the reason that Thalia died.
Not really.
Grover led them into the Cyclops trap.
By accident.
It still happened, right?
Hey,
It'll be by accident, but to a 7-year-old girl, is there really an accident?
This is getting heavier than I was anticipating.
Yeah.
My point being, it's kind of weird. Well, maybe it's because that Grover spent so much time around Percy before revealing he was a demigod?
Maybe. Yeah.
They like kept Percy at school the whole year. The whole year.
Wanted to make sure.
I make sure it was.
Also, the Chiron was there too, right? Chiron was also watching after him, like at the very least a month in.
Yeah. So so here's.
But then they also realized, oh, this is the son of Poseidon. We can't reveal this to him, or else he'll be under a lot more scrutiny and attack.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could have gotten him to Camp Half-Blood immediately.
Yeah, but like, you can't fuck this child's education. Come on.
Yeah, sure. I mean, also it probably is like, oh, he's like one of the big three. If we bring him to Camp Half-Blood, it's not just going to be the scrutiny of monsters. It's the scrutiny of the gods.
Yeah,
and
issues are going to be caused, and we got to prepare properly.
Yeah. They were watching Percy before the bolt got stolen.
Yeah.
Because Chiron shows up at the beginning of the school year.
Give or take, yeah.
Okay, so I guess it's like did you ever do that thing in school where you're like a new kid and so they assign some kid to like show you around and stuff?
No.
Okay, so there was this thing that I did in school where I was the kid who would show the new kid around and stuff. I wasn't the only one. There were lots. This was like a program at the middle school, right? None of those kids ever really became friends with the kids who was showing them around. Like, it was a nice thing, but eventually you fall into your groups.
Yeah.
And like that. So it's like the satyrs are like the kid that showed you around on your first and second day. But like after that, they're not in your classes.
Here's the thing, though, right? Is Percy came in at the start of 6th grade. No one's going to be showing around starter kids at 6th grade at the very least.
No, that's not my point. That's not my point is no. My point is that the satyrs are like
those kids.
So they're just like, the reason we don't see more demigods being friends with the satyrs who found them is because like once they get to Camp Half-Blood, they don't hang out with the satyrs. The satyrs leave again or they're doing their things and they're hanging out with the campers. But Percy and Grover hung out for a whole year and created a friendship bond.
Yeah, but like, why wouldn't that just be the standard though? Why, like, I guess maybe because but why would they grab, I don't know, children of like Hermes or just random demigods they don't know, which is also strange that they said they didn't know and put Percy in the Hermes cabin when they absolutely knew.
They were definitely trying to keep it on the hush-hush.
Yeah, but it's just like, like here's the thing, your godly parent hasn't claimed you yet, but you have the smell of seawater, so you're actually the son of Poseidon.
All tell. Well, but I think even if you can tell, even if like Sally like knew, and we know she did, and even if she had told Percy and Percy knew, unless a god claims you formally, I don't think you can move into their cabins.
That's pretty cringe.
It feels like ancient laws bullshit.
That's pretty cringe.
So my point being, because when satyrs are at Camp Half-Blood, they don't do activities with the campers. We don't hear them training or playing capture the flag.
Grover is the actual exception.
Yeah.
Like he gets fucking thrust into these things quite often.
Yeah, but like the other satyrs are like helping Dionysus or working like in the strawberry fields and stuff like that, or like serving at camp like dinners and stuff. Like they're the staff. They're not the campers. Anyway, I'm gonna show you a picture, GJ.
Picture of a Greek satyr?
I'm gonna show you a picture of a Greek satyr.
Okay.
So this is a ancient Greek satyr that is painted on basically one of those ancient Greek vases. You know the type. You've seen her.
Yeah. Why?
And at this point in the episode, I would like to give a disclaimer for heavy adult themes.
Why?
Episodes are always explicit. We like to say fuck a lot and talk about things. But this episode in particular, we're going to talk about, I'll just say it, sex and penises.
Yeah.
And if that's not your jam, that's okay. You can feel free to skip this one. I totally understand. DJ, why don't you go ahead and describe the image I just handed to you?
Well, first of all, the one thing to note is that he doesn't actually have goat legs. No goat legs. He's got human feet, human legs, kind of balding at the top. He's got a goat tail, or a tail of sorts. Not any clothes, and in fact, presenting a goblet on the tip of his penis. He's also balding a little bit. I don't know if I said that. Yeah, I mean, that's all I got.
Yeah, no, that's what you see there. Yeah. So that is a Greek satyr.
That's ridiculous. Why?
Well, that is what we're here to talk about today. That is why this episode is no longer paired with nymphs and other nature spirits. So, so this is what we're here to talk about today.
Okay.
boiling it down at the essence, satyrs in this very, very older than what we usually talk about myth old, are essentially these lustful woodland gods.
Okay.
They don't often appear in myths as like active characters, with some noteworthy exception. We'll get to that in a hot second. So the best records we have of ancient satyrs comes from Greek art, like what we just shared with you. And these images depict satyrs as largely human in form, as noted, with usually ears and the tails of horses, like pug-like weird swoosh noses, often bearded and balding with what looks like mane-like hair, like horse manes.
Okay.
Their favorite activities include dancing, drinking, partying with Dionysus, chasing nymphs, engaging in orgies, and masturbating.
Okay.
These guys were wild. Just
I can tell.
absolute peak. Any sort of concept you have of like human civilization or humanity, whatever that civilization or culture and look like, these guys did not subscribe to it in any way.
Clearly
they absolutely had no interest in any sort of like social norm, social decorum. There was no taboo for a satyr. The earliest surviving written reference of satyrs comes from the fragments of an epic poem, which in English is called the Catalogue of Women, which it's called that because it is kind of about the lineages of the women who were the mothers of the heroes of Greek mythology.
Okay.
This poem was originally attributed to Hesiod, but modern scholars are a little bit up in the air about whether or not he actually was part of it. But basically, in this poem, satyrs are said to be born at the same time as nymphs and described as good-for-nothing prankster satyrs.
Sounds about right.
And this poem is extremely old. Like I said, we only have fragments of it old. So this written record just demonstrates that satyrs were a part of Greek culture and beliefs for a really, really long time. This idea of satyr. Now, while this Catalogue of Women says that they were born at the same time of nymphs, there are actually numerous accounts of satyrs. I would like to quote the classicist William Hansen, who said that there may be more than one way to produce a satyr, as there is to produce a cyclops or a centaur.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, but one interesting thing to note, since satyrs are always male, but with the massive penises, you see, classical Greeks knew that they could not self-reproduce. So how do you get more satyrs? Who's to say? Nymphs? Well, usually.
As we saw with Coach Hedge and his girl, Nellie.
Millie. His wife, Millie. Yep.
His wife, Millie.
No, I mean, that's an often thing, because there was one thing in Edith Hamilton's mythology, when you look up the entry on satyrs, she notes that they are like, so the satyrs had their home in the wild places of the earth. In contrast to these unhuman, ugly gods, the goddesses of the woodlands were all lovely maiden forms. And then she goes on to describe the nymphs. So essentially, the nymphs and satyrs are intrinsically linked as both like deities of nature, of the wild places, of the woodlands and the mountains and the groves, the rivers, things like that.
Yep.
And that makes sense. Oftentimes, especially when oftentimes in art, you see satyrs chasing after nymphs. Very rarely do they catch them, is another thing. Satyrs eventually become this, what I gathered, comical, to point and laugh at like, oh, the inhuman, animalistic, the fall. We tell stories, they usually are about humans in some way, even if the characters aren't. Yeah. So it's like the folly of like the animalistic nature of man is also like, haha, like improper, not fruitful to behave this way, essentially. Well, I mentioned that there were very few, like most of what we get from satyrs is in art. There are a couple noteworthy exceptions. And I would like to share them with you because they are fucking wild. A couple of them are wild. We've mentioned one before. The satyr Selenius was described as the oldest, wisest, and most drunken of Dionysus' followers. Classic. We definitely, I believe, spoke on him. Perhaps it was during our Drunken Dionysus episode?
Maybe.
Who's to say?
Who's to say?
The Orphic traditions described him as Dionysus's tutor. And it's kind of through Silenus being like the wise, the wisdom, is this tradition of satyrs possessing a sort of secret knowledge that they only reveal if someone successfully catches them. Which, DJ, you may recall when we did our original OG episode on satyrs as the Bunker 9 bonus episode way back when, you brought to the table several modern satyr retellings, and one was that fairy tale about the woman who had to go capture a satyr, and as they were passing everybody, he kept pointing and laughing because he knew everybody's secrets.
I think I vaguely remember that, yes.
What we didn't know at the time was that is actually
that's a thing.
Yep, a semblance of satyr lore.
Okay.
A more, let's say, graphic satyr myth comes from the lost comedy of
Midsummer Night's Dream.
Midsummer Night's Dream. No, from the lost comedy of Melanopides of Melos, we have Marius. It starts when Athena invents a new instrument called the allos, which is like a double flute. But when she looks in the mirror while she's playing it, she decides she looks so ridiculous with her lips, her cheeks all puffed out, playing this wind instrument, that she throws the allos out the window. And not enough just to...
I guess we know where that came from in the Go the Distance with Meg.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I look ridiculous. Yeah, probably. So not enough just to get rid of the thing. She also curses the instrument to bring a painful death on whomsoever has the misfortune of finding it.
Yeah, I don't think it happened to Meg.
No, it didn't happen. No.
Almost did.
Almost did.
But then she got in tight with Persephone.
Good for her. So this is the bad news for the satyr, Marius, who finds the damn thing and discovers he has a natural talent for wind instruments.
Oh, damn.
And just immediately challenges Apollo to
Apollo burns him alive.
So the winner of this contest will be allowed to do whatever they wanted to the loser. So Apollo plays the lyre, obviously.
Yeah.
And Marius plays the allos. And he's very, very good at it and is legitimately impressive. And Apollo is like, okay, well, I've got to up the ante. So Apollo proceeds to play the lyre upside down. And he challenges Marius to do the same with the allos. And he can't, because that's not how wind instruments work. So he is declared the loser.
Apollo proceeds to plug the lyre into an amp and absolutely just rip ass on Freebird.
Do you want to hear this one? It's Wonderwall. No. Okay, so Apollo wins and then promptly hangs Marius from a tree and flays him alive for his hubris.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So these are two big satyr plays. Our satyr stories. Satyr plays is actually a form of... It was like a genre of play in ancient Greece that was performed only during the most important festivals to Dionysus in Athens. So the festival would be structured, you would have 3 tragedies and then a satyr play, which was essentially a parody of the tragedy. And it was called a satyr play because the chorus would all be dressed as satyrs with grotesque masks and... let's say...
prosthetic penises.
Prosthetic penises. I was trying to figure out, do I want to say dildo? Prosthetic penises, yes. And they were very... It was interesting because the language of the satyr plays and the way they were written was very similar to the way tragedies were written and performed, but they were comedies, essentially. What would happen in them were very comedic. And so they had like the plots, the themes, the characters, and they would have happy endings.
Yeah.
And the chorus would have, in addition to the costumes, they would also use like wordplay and sexual innuendos just to really like heighten the whole thing and body humor, things like that. And it sounds really cathartic. Actually reading about this.
Yeah, I imagine after like going through and just watching a lot of downer, you'd want to watch something funny.
Yeah,
You'd be
just
like,
to really
haha,
like,
yeah, that's really funny, right?
That, yeah.
It's like, oh man, I just finished watching Lion Witch in the Wardrobe. Let's watch Epic Movie.
That's your reference for a downer?
No, I mean something, I guess, serious.
Serious.
I was trying to go off of like, oh, something serious. And then, as you said, they made a parody of it, which is exactly what Epic Movie is to Narnia.
I guess that makes more sense. Yeah, okay, I understand what you're doing now. I was like, DJ,
no, not a downer.
Titanic, there's Schindler's List.
Like,
no, you wanted
I mean, yeah, we could do that,
serious,
but it's the serious versus the silly.
No, so I understand your comparison to Narnia and Epic Movie now. Thank you for walking me through that. I applaud you. I think that's an excellent comparison, actually. Yeah. Except if Narnia ended with Aslan being dead and the White Witch winning.
Yeah.
And then you watch Epic Movie.
Yeah.
DJ, would you like to summarize what we've learned today about satyrs?
Well, they're sex-crazed maniacs who are just lewd and crude.
Exactly. So how do we get to Grover Underwood?
It sounds like they really took that mentor version of the satyr of Dionysus and just ran with that versus literally anything else.
True, but even the mentor version of Dionysus' satyr, Silenus, was still
lewd and
crude and drunk as fuck.
But he's also wise and, probably relatively held together. I mean, he did raise a god.
True.
It's Dionysus,
he raised
but it's
Dionysus.
Still a god, right? Maybe Pan even, right? Pan might have had like an influence on that. I assume maybe something to do with Judeo-Christian.
I do have the answer. I have a very strong working theory. I can find no definitive answer. I can find a lot of theories, and reading about them and what I've lined through, I have a working theory. So, it's two prongs. And it has to do with these these facets of, you mentioned Pan. So that's exactly it. So Pan, and we will get more into this later. I really bounced off the surface of this notion because I was about to be another 45-minute deep dive just to understand it, and I'm going to have to do it for Pan anyway.
Yeah, we'll do it for Pan.
So what I could understand is that Pan had multiple forms, or maybe varieties of a god with a similar core, or maybe one god that originates from all of these. It's hard to explain.
No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Like ancient stories. So they were called the Pans or Pains. There's sometimes an E in there that I don't really know what it's doing.
It's probably doing linguistically like boxes. The Panas.
The Panas? Okay, yeah, the Panas. So these are either different gods, different versions of Pan, or Pan with distinct identities. And essentially, they were the spirits of mountains and highland pastures. And the Pans, Pannies, were depicted as goat-footed men with horns, tails, beards, snub noses, and ears of a goat. And so they were, because you'd find them in like the nature places, the things of nature, much like the satyrs, in time, satyrs would borrow kind of like artists would borrow those kind of things for satyrs as well. So satyrs became less horse-like, more goat-like.
Yeah.
And then the Romans arrived.
And they got fauns.
And the Romans already had their versions of nature spirits, the fauns. And so before they encountered the Greeks, they had fauns. This idea, and whether or not the fauns were exactly like satyrs or the Pans, probably not. But similar enough that for the Romans, these two became very intrinsically linked.
Yeah.
But distinct. It's important to recognize that fauns and Greek satyrs were still viewed as being distinct creatures, where fauns were shy and woodland spirits. Satyrs were still drunk and boisterous, right? Even though by this time the satyrs had definitely been amped way the fuck down on their bullshit.
Yeah.
They were still not these like quiet and reserved.
Being as if Rome was coming up, Greek was on the hella downfall.
Kind of, yeah. So in the 1st century BC, a Roman poet named Lucretius mentions, this dude's got a lengthy ass poem, but he mentions that the people of his time believed in goat-legged satyrs, along with nymphs who lived in the mountains and fauns who played rustic music on stringed instruments and pipes. And so I mentioned that quote because it does underline satyrs and fauns still viewed as different things, though they were together.
Yeah, they were all nature spirits in a way.
Ovid, the 1st century Roman poet, 1st century AD, wrote a story or presents a story about how Jupiter is worried that, the viciousness of humans will destroy basically everything and leave the nymphs, fauns, and satyrs without a place to live. So he gives them the woodlands and the mountains. Again, demonstrating that satyrs, fauns, different creatures, but part of the nature, part of like those woodland rustic beliefs. Here is my theory. This, and I'm going to fully be like, I found this because I was trying to figure out at what point in time do satyr and faun become essentially interchangeable. Like if we had a list of like when we played our game in that episode about like which of these other fictional satyrs could get Percy to Camp Half-Blood, we included Mr. Tumnus from the Narnia series.
He is a faun.
Though he is a faun, but I think we agreed that but they're basically the same thing. And then when we're in like the Percy Jackson series, when we go to Camp Jupiter and we see like, oh, they're fauns. They're not exactly like satyrs, but they're
much more lazy.
They're very lazy.
They're more along the lines of the Greek satyr.
They're kind of, yeah. Honestly, the classical Greek satyr, to be fair. Yeah. So at what point do they become basically synonyms for each other, for Greek and Roman? And here, fully my theory, I have no evidence, and there may be a totally other reason for this, but this is what I've got. There was an old fable that we have now. It's one of Aesop's fables. It's called The Satyr and the Traveler. And so a satyr who fucks with a traveler. We don't need to go into more detail than that right now. But it comes from a much, much older fable, right? The version we have comes from a much older story that you find in Greek and Latin. And the Latin version we have came from a fable writer named Avianus, who titled his version of the story Diviato et Fauno, replacing the word satyr with the word faun. And at this point, I believe we can say that satyrs and fauns were no longer viewed as separate. I think this Latin writer, when he was writing down the version of this story, the fact that he chose to use the word faun instead of the word satyr, I think signals that one, fauns and satyrs have become basically the same creature, because beforehand they were distinct. So you could have just used satyr, but he didn't. He used faun, which is Latin, and he chose to use that. And I think this is how we get the concept of Greek satyr that is overlapped with the image of the Roman faun.
Yeah.
Because if I had told you the story of Silenus or Marisus earlier, you probably would have pictured someone that looks like Grover.
Oh yeah, I still did.
You still did, yeah. Even when I showed you the image of this balding horse-tailed man with a penis.
Yeah, I still did.
It's still Grover.
It's still a goat-legged satyr.
Yeah, it's so intrinsically linked in this kind of pop culture. And I think that's why. I think it's this translation. I think it's these two becoming, and then you have other translations. It's like faun and satyr are the same. And so we're using the images that have become more prominent, the ones from Rome, and then that's what we go on to. Then we have the Christians. Middle-aged Christians were just super not a fan of the classical satyrs.
No, yeah, and I don't blame them.
I don't blame them either. This is one thing where, the middle-aged
when you were like
Christians,
showing me that and like explaining them like, oh, so this is why Satan is typically depicted with goat legs and typically depicted as, well, what we see as a satyr.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. So it was the behavior of the classical satyrs that was so appalling, right? Yeah. I mean, anything that's pagan is bad. Yeah. But specifically
these satyrs are pretty...
this debauchery. And so they began associating satyrs with devils. At this point, you have the fauns, the goat legs, the horns, as the image of the satyr, no longer the horse-tailed penis men.
Yeah.
And so that's why you have cartoons from the 1940s that depict Satan as like goat-legged. Yeah. I mean, other things too. There's classical art, but
it still even like shows up like the modern day with Tenacious D. Their depiction of the devil is, the devil that we know and arguably love. If I were to be like, hey, draw me a devil real quick, draw me Satan, and I'm just like, hey, just draw me a Satan. Don't draw me like a human Lucifer-looking dude. Draw me fucking Satan. Chances are I'm going to get somebody to draw me a satyr.
I mean, yeah. So I don't know. Whenever I think of like Satan pop culture that looks like the Greek, the satyr version, I do always think of like, I picture something from like a Betty Boop cartoon.
Yeah, that's fair. For me, it really is that Tenacious D, because I did watch it at like 9 or 10, which I definitely shouldn't have.
Yes, that would be...
I should not have watched that.
So that is the wild-ass mythology, story of satyrs, and how everything we believed we knew about satyrs was wrong, actually.
Yeah, that's a little insane. That is actually kind of wild.
Yep. I dug up a bunch of sources just to make sure it wasn't like a one-off weird translation.
Yeah, no. This is how it is.
This is actually what Greek satyrs are, and we are hanging out with Roman fauns essentially all the time.
Which honestly, not against it.
No, I like these better.
I definitely would prefer these Greek fauns. You know?
Yeah, no, this is. I'm not saying I want Grover Underwood to be balancing Diet Coke cans on his penis. Like, I don't think that'd be quite as fun.
Do you think Dionysus is like, hey, let's go back to the good old days for a second? And some satyrs like, oh, cool, fucking let's do this shit, and they just like instant horsemen, you know, like, oh, let's do it. And then they present him with a like wine thing. It's like, no, we gotta keep it like the punishment, but let's just chill like this for a bit, all right?
It's like, well, let's just take off. It's that scene from Lord Olympus where like Hades and Persephone are like going through a lot, so they kind of have their like natural like features out. Yeah, and Hecate's like, oh,
we doing this?
Oh, we just like letting ourselves laying loose, and she's all of a sudden like got like the three faces and stuff. Like, oh, that feels so good. Like you just took off a bra after a long day. All right, so here's the next part we have. Usually we talk about satyrs in pop culture.
Yeah, but we've done that.
And
on the main feed, y'all, or not the main feed. Bunker 9 bonus episodes.
Mm-hmm. It's one of our
Get in the Patreon.
I actually hold on. I think that was an episode we released last year.
It was.
So you all could have listened to it.
Guys, go to a year ago, back in October for our birthday month. We released this episode. If you guys have not listened to it, do. My mic is shitty.
Mine is too, I think.
Maybe. It definitely sounds better than mine, though.
Oh, yeah, but it's...
Check it out, though. It's a lot of fun.
It's very old. But yeah, so we covered a lot of that. But I think another thing is like, you had to do some pulls that we would not do today. Not that
what
they
was
were
the
bad.
pulls?
You had a Stephen King book. There was that Italian
Oh, yeah,
myth.
I did have a Stephen King book. It was a horror book, if I remember correctly.
It was The Lawn Man?
Yes, The Lawn Man. I remember. I love that story.
Yeah.
The story was goofy.
No, and then not in that like we wouldn't pull it as in it's bad, but like in this version of the podcast, we try to stick to things that we have a strong familiarity with so we can actually speak to them.
Here's the thing. The Lawn Man was short enough so I could read it. I did read it.
You did read it.
Because it was only like, it was like 3 paragraphs.
It was
a short story. It was a short story of just like, I don't remember what it is now. I just know it was a short ass story. And so I read it.
Debauchery.
Yeah. So I read it and I'm like, yeah,
fuckery.
this is fun. This is goofy. So let's pull this one.
All right.
Yeah. I would still pull Tumnus because
Mr. Tumnus 100%.
I'm not super familiar with Narnia, but I'd still pull it because he's like, yeah, that's a pop culture satyr
I
right there.
I could pull Tumnus, yeah. And then our other one was Phil from Hercules.
We would still pull Phil.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I guess the other thing is like, here we are. Now, what do we speak of in terms of pop culture satyrs? Because it really is, I think.
It would still be Phil.
Still be Phil.
Pull out Coach Hedge because I love Coach Hedge.
I love Coach Hedge.
Tumnus. I mean, the devil, right? It's a classic.
I mean, do we want to argue the devil?
The devil is it's a faun, but it's a satyr, right? It's depicted as a satyr.
Yeah, but he's depicted as a satyr. That's what we get into. Just because the devil is definitely depicted as a satyr,
It's more satyr than Grover.
I mean, in terms of, yes, we are speaking in terms of like Greek satyr here.
So
no, this is a very good point.
Especially Tenacious is the satyr, dude.
But rarely is the devil fun.
I don't know. There's a lot of times where I'm like, yeah, that devil's fun.
Sometimes. I feel like he rarely does party.
The one devil that is like a pop culture devil that people could point to and be like, yeah, that's a devil and I've seen him before. South Park's devil, that motherfucker parties.
Okay, but anything you're going to pull from South Park, you also have to take with a heavy dose of parody and satire.
Yeah, but it's the devil.
It's not, you're not wrong. I would argue that it's not a coherent example of the way this particular facet is usually presented in modern stories.
In modern pop culture. In modern pop culture, I'd say the devil is depicted more like how he's depicted in Tenacious D and South Park than in days past.
I guess here's an interesting thing, because you're saying devil, but the main examples that come to me that I'm thinking of are prominent displays is like Good Omens and Supernatural.
Yeah, those are two different. I'm thinking of satyr devils that, like, I guess Tenacious D and South Park are kind of different, and I know they are, but I would say Supernatural and Good Omens are more serious works of art.
I mean, yes. No, you're not wrong. It's not wrong. It's just I don't think anyone has ever described Supernatural as a serious work of art.
It's an art medium. It's a work of art, and it's serious. It took itself seriously for at the very least 5 seasons.
I mean, yes. My point being, what also occurs to me is that
most people wouldn't call like TV series and movies works of art, even though they are. Everyone that comes out is a work of art, whether or not you want to.
Completely. Another example I'm thinking of is the way the devil is depicted in the Sandman comics.
That one's fair.
But I think there is a distinct difference in my 3 examples, not just because Neil Gaiman is involved in 2 of them.
Yeah, there's a distinct difference because it's also like, again, it's like serious and satire, right?
True.
That's how these 2 depictions are.
Yes.
Tenacious D is a fucking stoner film.
Yes. And another thing is that in Good Omens, hold up.
Is Good Omens depicted as a satyr?
I actually have to look up the Good Omens one real quick.
Because I can't for the life of me depict the Sandman one as a satyr.
No.
Yeah. And I don't think Supernatural went that route either.
No, Sandman, you came in, I think, on the end of the episode where I was watching A Hope in Hell. The Sandman one they are depicted as largely angelic, human with the wings.
I mean,
right?
that's because that's how like he typically is. Lucifer.
Yeah.
is.
So, and that's another thing. It's Lucifer.
Yeah.
It's not usually the devil, but they call this character Lucifer.
Yeah. Well, that's his angelic name. And then was it not?
No. Morningstar? I don't know. It depends on
the thing.
It really depends.
I've heard Lucifer when he was an angel more times than like anything else.
Maybe because I think Lucifer Morningstar is like Lightbringer. And then in Supernatural, he's usually possessing someone. We don't really see that. Good Omens, we really only see his top, his head as he's like in the show. Mm-hmm. But it is like red, horned, but like winged. I would not, if he came all the way out of the ground, I don't think we're getting goat legs. I think we're getting like monster behemoth.
Here's the thing, actually. I've definitely seen depiction of the devil look like that with goat legs.
Interesting, you think?
If I remember correctly, the devil in... Oh, man. Let me make sure that I got this right. But the devil in This Is the End is a big hulking magma monster, and I think it has goat legs. Yeah. There it is.
Interesting. Yeah, no, you're right. I think I would have missed it, but until you look all the way down, those are definitely goat legs.
He's not there very long. He shows up at the end, right as they're like in that scene specifically. Mm-hmm. He shows up at the end, but yeah, he has goat legs and a big old dick. Which is something they added. It gets cut off by that blue light.
Yeah. Is it comedic?
Yeah. That movie. That movie is another. It's I would call it a modern day stoner flick, right? Uh-huh. Because it's made by Seth Rogen and his crew, but they're all playing themselves, and it's the apocalypse happens, like the biblical apocalypse. A lot of people get raptured, and then like all these other actors are just in LA trying to fucking survive, and then they do like a good thing, and they do like show that they're pure of heart, and they get raptured, get taken to heaven.
Yeah,
that end scene is in fact what is it? One guy is going to heaven, like he's holding onto his buddy's hand, but his buddy is not actually allowed in heaven. Aww. So he starts getting dragged back down. He's like, dude, you got to let me go. And so he lets go, and then he gets taken to heaven. And that's very sweet. Aww. Love that.
Yeah.
That movie's goofy as hell.
Yeah. Here's what I think. Based on the evidence we have at hand, it feels like we can maybe confidently say that in current era modern pop culture, if you're going to do a goat-legged satyr devil, you're probably doing comedy.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do
high chance.
Yeah.
I know I've seen it in serious things, but it's not common in serious things. More often than not, in serious things, he's a normal person. He's a normal person with like, I guess like another close thing I would have to a devil or the devil would be Daniel Radcliffe's Horns. Another great movie.
Yep.
Stellar movie. I love it. He transforms at like the end of it into like a full ass devil, and I actually don't know if he has goat legs on that form. But he turns into like another fiery magma monster right at the end to like finalize his revenge, and it's great.
So I think I was not prepared to talk about the devil in this episode, honestly. So thank you, DJ.
Yeah.
No, it's a very good point. I think, so why do we do that? Well, it's because Christians in the Middle Ages. And why is the goat legs? Well, because Romans and satyrs and fauns.
Yeah.
And why is that? Well, because Greek satyrs were debaucherous motherfuckers.
Yes.
And now when we do it, it's to be funny.
Yep.
Because we don't view the idea of like the incarnation of pure evil as this anymore.
Yeah, we view it more along the lines of, given the fact that God made us in his image, it's pretty good to say that he made a lot of other angels in his image, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's like these demons and like all these other things might also be in our image ourselves.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think they like taking like religious.
It also saves time on special effects.
It also saves time on special effects, much like Invisible Hellhounds. I was going to say something about how like, well, evil usually has a human face. But,
yes.
Now we ended on a comedy note, so I can't go there. Now we're done. I think, I definitely prefer satyrs we got now. I'm fine with this. Even in Edith Hamilton's, her original quote, she describes them as goat-legged men, much like Pan.
Yeah. I do like satyrs nowadays more, and I also enjoy the depiction of devil like that because I mean, obviously it's in funny movies.
Yeah, you know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm into that. That's goofy. That's fun. Honestly, the Tenacious D devil might be my favorite depiction of that specific kind. Right? Yeah. It's goofy. It's fun. Like a relatively serious one that he has goat legs in, or at the very least when he shows up, it's serious. Devil is a part-timer.
Oh shit! I forgot. Devil is a part-timer. He does in his full Satan form. He has
goat legs.
Goat legs. And it's funny because Lucifer is also a character in that.
And so is Beelzebub. And just like all these other characters.
All these devils. That's such a fucking great anime. Yeah, even though it's serious initially, he works at McDonald's.
It's like a goofy slice of life.
Yeah.
But when he shows up in devil form, it's a serious scene. It's never showed for like goofiness.
True.
That is always a serious scene when he's in the devil form.
Yes. But it's still in a comedy. My theory still stands. Hey, good for Darien.
But yeah, so I guess that would be, I mean, that was fun.
You know, DJ, I thought me researching this episode was going to be the most shocking thing, but honestly, you taking us down this devil route was just an absolute delight. I much appreciated it.
It's easily the most common pop culture of the devil.
I mean, yeah, of satyrs.
Of satyrs. It's easily the most common like pop culture version, especially of like actual Greek ones, because we have ancient, Christians to go off of.
This is our connection. Like, what do we have now? I'm like, well, we've got a couple satyrs we've talked about already. Well, let's talk about the devil for a hot second.
We could talk about Midsummer too. Right? Like that's a very prominent one that has a bunch of satyrs that is like quite debaucherous.
Oh, DJ, I didn't watch I didn't watch Midsummer.
You've never seen Midsummer Night Dream?
Oh, Midsummer Night's Dream.
I'm not talking about the horror movie.
No, you just said Midsummer.
Because I brought up Midsummer Night's Dream earlier, so I'm like, I don't want to say the whole fucking title.
I don't think you did bring up Midsummer Night's Dream earlier. Oh, I didn't catch it.
You can watch you.
No, I believe
in your
you.
editing.
I believe you. I just didn't catch it. It's kind of like, I mean, sometimes Puck is described as like a satyr and stuff.
Most of the time.
But in this one, it's really like the fae and fairy.
Well, most of the time, Puck is a satyr. Like almost every time, like almost every depiction I've seen it, and even in like the original play, he's a satyr.
I thought we were wrapping this.
I thought we were too.
You brought us here. We can't do this.
Well, yeah, but it's like still.
Well, I think it's important.
And then King Oberon is like king of the satyrs.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
What? Is Titania lusting for a goddamn satyr?
Against her will, yeah.
No, that's the donkey.
Oh, yeah.
He's king of the fairies. He's not king of the satyrs.
Oh, ridiculous.
He's just a fairy king.
I wasn't calling Oberon a satyr. I was just saying he was king of the satyrs, much like Dionysus. But yeah, if he's king of the fairies, then that's an entirely different situation.
Yeah. I think he's a mischievous fairy sprite or gesture. I think oftentimes he'll be depicted as a satyr because it makes sense.
Yeah, almost every time I've seen him depicted as a satyr at the very least.
I think it depends on your budget. What do you have to work with here?
Yeah. Do you got like a pair of shaggy pants at home? Put them on, baby.
We're doing that.
Put it on. We got it.
On the Puck of English. Well, Puck of English. Oh, we can't do this. Hold up. Oh, snap. All right. So a illustration from the title page of Robin Goodfellow, his mad pranks and merry jest from 1629 does depict him as a satyr. As a goat-legged satyr.
Yeah, goat-legged satyr.
Hot damn, DJ.
With a big old penis.
With a big old dick sticking out. I totally missed the dick. Well,
how did you miss the dick?
It's kind of in there with the fur.
I guess.
I didn't look for it. I usually don't.
Yeah, fair.
All right. Well, you got me on that one. Yep. Well done, DJ. Well done. Fair
original depiction of on his movie poster. He's a satyr.
He's a satyr. You're absolutely right. All right. Well, I think that is going to do it for this one. Speaking of extra episodes we released last October, it's our birthday month in October.
Yeah, it is. So we got more extra episodes coming out.
Yep, we want to celebrate by giving you a present,
listeners.
Are we
saying what they are? Have we said what they are?
No. We will. Maybe we did on Patreon, so our patrons get to know.
Okay.
Secrets. But yes, for our listeners, we are releasing 2 episodes that have been formally behind the paywall. We are unlocking them and gifting to you this month. So on the off weeks, our off weeks usually for October, you'll be getting a bonus episode. Hooray.
1 Remyth episode.
Yes, so we're doing a regular bonus episode and one of our Remyth episodes. Yes. DJ's feeling very generous this year.
Very excited about it. I'm excited about this Remyth episode because it's a classic.
It is a classic. So next week, Tuesday the 4th, check back in your feed. There will be a present here waiting for you.
Oh, heck yeah. And also, just to plug our Patreon a little more, this coming October will be the first month that we do Muses Movie Night.
Woo!
We're very excited about it, and we'd love to have you guys down and check it out.
Yep. This is a gift we are giving to all of our patrons, regardless of your tier.
Yep.
Everyone just gets this. It's going to be something ongoing once a quarter.
Yep, once a quarter at the first month of every quarter.
Yep.
So January, April, July, and October.
That's right. That's right. That's absolutely right. And you just did that without. I'm just so annoyed, impressed, and
Ridiculous.
frightened a little bit. Yes. So, did you want to tell them what we're doing for this first Muses movie night?
Yeah, you know what? Why not? To tantalize you guys just a little bit more, we are actually going to be reviewing, I guess not reviewing, we're reviewing, talking about James Cameron, The Avatar, since it's back in theaters. We are going to be watching it and then reviewing it.
Yep, we are seeing it in IMAX 3D as the Lord intended.
Yep, and it'll be the first time I've seen the movie since I saw it last time in theaters when I was 10 years old. Whenever that movie came out. 11? Was it 20?
It was 2010.
2010? So I was 11.
Yep. It has, yep. DJ is one of the only humans on this planet who genuinely does, in fact, like Avatar completely unironically.
Yeah,
he also hasn't seen it in 12 years.
I love that movie, but I know logically that it's probably not going to hold up to my teenage brain. But here's the thing about it. It's pretty.
It's
a
very
pretty movie, and I'm very excited for the next one. Way of Water. Let's get it.
Yep. And I'm also dragging him to Orlando to make him go to Avatar Land because of all the people in the world he needs to go to.
If anything, I'm dragging you to Avatar Land.
So that's it. Yeah. So check it out. Keep an eye out, or I guess keep an ear out for that for October. We've got some extra goodies, and we will be back in your ears with a main feed episode on Tuesday, October 11th, to talk about nature spirits.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us.
And until next time, don't be like Zeus.
Don't be like Zeus.
Muses of Mythology is created and hosted by Darien and DJ Smartt. It's edited by Darien Smartt. The show is produced by Darien and DJ Smartt, as well as
Tim O'Connor, The Crystal Con Man. Our music is Athens Festival by Martin Hain, and our cover art is by Audrey Miller. You can find her on Instagram at Bombshell Nutshell Art.
Want more Muses of Mythology? Support the show on Patreon. Just $1 gets you exclusive bonus content. Get more at patreon.com/Muses of Mythology.
You can also support the show by leaving a review at lovethepodcast.com/Muses of Mythology, or tell a friend why you love the show.
Don't forget to check out all of our episodes and episode transcripts at musesofmythology.com.
Thanks for listening.